So the foundational thing to learn for playing rhythm guitar and learning new chord substitutions, to me, learning the Freddie Green chord voicings, those 3-chord, 4 to the bar voicings, are one of the best ways to lay out what's going on. And I did a video recently about this. I'll put a link to it down below. But you don't always necessarily want to play with that feel. It can have sort of a dated sound. I mean, if you're playing swing, it's perfect. And even if you're playing related things like Western swing, those voicings are really useful. But that 4 to the bar thing isn't always what you want. And if you listen to tunes from the era that comes after that, from the bebop period and hard bop period, there's not a ton of guitar. But when you do hear organ combo people like Grant Green or even Kenny Burrell playing with Jimmy Smith, they're playing a variation on these chord voicings. And so in this lesson, I want to just take a minute and explain how you can take that heavier 4 to the bar sound and those same voicings and adapt them to something that sounds, relatively speaking, a little more modern, as my friends used to say, on the cutting edge of the 1950s. Okay, so the first thing is that after the swing era, guitar players didn't play so much of that straight 4/4 thing anymore because it kind of went out of style in terms of the whole rhythm section. Like everything got opened up more, especially the drums. The bass is no longer playing 2 notes per, 2 beats per note, but doing more of a walking thing. Right, so everything's moving in more of a quarter note feel, and the drums are no longer like playing like the kick on every beat maybe, and not playing so much, but like moving things over to the ride cymbal, which has a more open feel, and then doing more accents and different kinds of things with both the snare and the bass drum. So everything's opening up. Partly the guitar is disappearing from the bebop landscape, more or less, only because like some of the biggest and best known ensembles didn't have a guitar player, like the Charlie Parker quartets or the Dizzy Gillespie quartets and quintets. So there are, by the 50s though, these people like Grant Green and Wes Montgomery and Kenny Burrell, and they're playing in the more modern bop idiom and also like the hard bop style that kind of emerges out of that. And so what they're doing, it doesn't make sense anymore, the kind of music they're playing, to play that steady 4/4 thing. So the first thing you can do is take the exact same voicings, right? Those are 4 voicings you might use for that kind of vamp. G minor 6, the root 6th and flat 3rd, and then looks like a B flat major 6, but it's working right here as a first inversion G minor chord with the flat 3rd, the root in the 5th, and then A minor 7, the root, flat 7 and flat 3rd, going to D7 with the 5th and the bass, the 5th, 3rd and flat 7. So those, in the swing idiom, you'd play it like that, but you can start to open it up and play them more as accents. So that's a matter of just changing up what's going on rhythmically, but it's the exact same voicings and the same kind of damping to only get those 3 notes. And then if you want to open it up even more, you can lose the low string. Because you've got a bass that's walking and moving around, or like an organ player who's playing pedals and basically doing the same thing, only, you know, with the organ sound. Then holding down these notes in the bass, which were originally designed to harmonize with what the bass player is doing an octave down, it's going to feel clunky, because if you're doing this, and the bass player an octave down is trying to move around, that's going to cause problems. So if you leave out the bass note, you can let your thumb touch the low string, and then your fingers can still do all that damping on top. And you still kind of know where to go. And you can occasionally play a fuller voicing, but now you've got something that's like right in the middle register of the guitar. You can play it with a certain amount of emphasis and even percussive quality. And that lets things open up and breathe even more. And finally, these are particularly good because they're only 2 notes. They're little double stops. They're easy to grab. And so when you get into hearing people like Kenny Burrell play, maybe in just a trio or a quartet setting, he'll use something like that to comp for himself. So it's pretty versatile, and because those 2-note versions are so easy to grab, they work great in that self-accompanying way, and also if you're playing behind somebody else. And again, you can always drop in those full voicings if the context allows it, but having those shorter and more concise versions can be really effective. This is something I'm going to be talking about a lot in my upcoming Reliable Source series of workshops. In the first workshop, we're going to look at minor blues chord substitutions, and we'll start off using the Freddie Green voicings to do that, and then see how we can evolve that into some of those more bebop and hard bop style voicings as well. And in the third installment of the workshops, the Kenny Burrell Chords workshop, we're going to talk a lot about not just those abbreviated chords and how to use them to comp for yourself, but also how to expand them into the top 4 strings. To get those kinds of sounds where you're basically playing chords to support the melodic licks that you want to play, as well as using those chords to accompany yourself. So if you're interested in learning more about that, there's a link below and a link on screen. You can go there and check out all the details and sign up for the workshops. In the meantime, if you've got a question or a comment about today's lesson, please leave it down below. I would love to hear from you. And as always, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.